Hello everyone and welcome to the channel Knowledge Era. In today's video, we are going to discuss a very serious, sensitive, and geopolitically dangerous development that has caught the attention of the entire world. According to recent reports, an attack has taken place on the personal residence of Russian President Vladimir Putin. As soon as this news surfaced, global media went into overdrive, with dozens of international articles being published within hours. World leaders across countries reacted strongly to this incident, including India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi and former US President Donald Trump, both of whom openly condemned the attack. It is important to understand that we are not talking about an attack on an ordinary individual's house, but on the residence of the sitting president of a nuclear superpower. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in his official response, stated that he is deeply concerned by this development. From India's perspective, this concern is rooted in a consistent and long-standing position. India has always maintained that the Russia-Ukraine conflict must end through dialogue and diplomacy rather than through continued military escalation. India has historically maintained strong relations with Russia, while also engaging constructively with Ukraine. If we look at history, Russia and Ukraine share deep cultural, linguistic, and historical ties, and India has repeatedly stated that it stands firmly on the side of peace. However, when a country's president becomes a direct target and even his personal residence is attacked, the very possibility of meaningful peace talks is put at risk. This is why Prime Minister Modi emphasized that ongoing diplomatic efforts offer the most viable path toward ending hostilities and achieving lasting peace, and that the international community must avoid actions that could undermine these efforts. Former US President Donald Trump also reacted strongly to the incident, though in his characteristic direct and blunt style. Speaking to the media, Trump said that he did not like the attack at all and described it as not good. He made a clear distinction between being militarily offensive during a war and directly attacking the personal home of a national leader. According to Trump, President Putin personally informed him about the attack on his residence and was extremely angry about it. Trump raised an important and often overlooked point. If, hypothetically, Vladimir Putin had been killed in such an attack, the consequences could have been catastrophic. Russia is a nuclear-armed state, and any perception that its leadership is under existential threat could dramatically increase the risk of nuclear escalation. Trump further explained that the assassination of a sitting president does not simply remove one individual from power. It creates panic and fear throughout the entire political and military leadership of a country. Russia's top ministers, generals, and security officials would naturally begin to believe that their own lives could be at risk next. This fear could push decision-makers toward extreme responses. It is also worth noting that several high-ranking Russian generals have already been assassinated during the course of this conflict. In such a volatile environment, the death of the president could significantly raise the probability of nuclear weapons being used, something the world is desperately trying to avoid. An important clarification must be made here. This attack did not take place at the Kremlin, which is President Putin's official workplace in Moscow. Instead, it reportedly targeted his personal residence located in the Novgorod region of Russia. This detail is crucial because an attack on a personal residence is widely seen as a major escalation rather than a symbolic or military strike. Following this incident, multiple world leaders stated that such an action should never have occurred, as it could push the conflict into an uncontrollable phase. Russia's parliamentary leadership has previously issued official warnings that any direct attack on President Putin could result in an extremely severe response, potentially including the use of nuclear weapons. History offers a powerful lesson in this context. If we look back at the origins of World War I, we find that it was triggered by the assassination of a single individual, Archduke Franz Ferdinand of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. His death led to a chain reaction of alliances, military mobilizations, and declarations of war that ultimately engulfed all of Europe and later much of the world. There was no written rule or official doctrine stating that his assassination would cause a world war, yet that is exactly what happened. This example highlights an important truth about geopolitics. Not every consequence is written down in policy documents. Often, history repeats itself through similar patterns of escalation. Many analysts believe that if Vladimir Putin had genuinely been killed in this attack, the event could have acted as a catalyst in a manner similar to the assassination that triggered World War I. Officially, Russia does not have a publicly declared doctrine stating that the assassination of its president would automatically result in nuclear war. However, geopolitics does not always operate according to written rules. Decisions are often made under pressure, fear, and uncertainty. This is why predicting outcomes in geopolitics is nearly impossible. Instead, experts study historical patterns, national security postures, and strategic behavior to assess what a country might do next. This sense of concern has not been limited to India or the United States alone. Leaders from multiple countries, including Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, have also described the attack on Putin's residence as deeply concerning. The global consensus is clear. No responsible nation wants the Russia-Ukraine war to escalate into a nuclear conflict. If we imagine a hypothetical scenario in which Putin had been killed as a result of this attack, it is highly likely that Russia would have responded with nuclear force against Ukraine. However, it is less likely that the United States or European countries would immediately respond with nuclear weapons against Russia. Instead, the more probable outcome would have been limited conventional conflicts or small-scale wars involving European nations. A full-scale world war would become more likely only if major powers such as China were drawn directly into the conflict. One relatively positive development following the attack is that Russia has now shifted into a high-alert security posture. Satellite imagery indicates that advanced air defense systems have been deployed around President Putin's residence in the Novgorod region. Several S-400 missile defense batteries have reportedly been positioned specifically to protect the Russian president. As a result, the likelihood of a successful assassination attempt in the near future has been significantly reduced. From a global security perspective, this decrease in risk can be seen as a cautiously positive sign even though the broader conflict remains unresolved. Despite this, the war itself is far from over. Donald Trump has recently stated that the Russia-Ukraine conflict will either end relatively soon or continue for many more years. Unfortunately, both possibilities remain open at this stage. The situation on the ground continues to evolve, and new developments could emerge at any time. This is why it is essential to closely monitor events as they unfold. As more updates related to this issue become available, we will continue to analyze them objectively and share them with you.